and the Rockies take the lead.
Carmelo Anthony.
Now the opening, and it's put down.
Anderson had a pad down on the ice.
The Broncos will have the football. Denver touchdown.
Colorado Sports Connection.
Hello everybody and welcome to Colorado Sports Connection. We're coming to you from Big Bill's New York Pizza in Centennial, and I'm Daryl Navarro, your host for Colorado Sports Connection. Well, today we have another exciting episode for you. Later on in the show, we're going to be visiting with the Class 5A Volleyball State Champions from Chaparral High School. But first, we're going to be talking with the Colorado Rockies play-by-play radio announcer Jack Corrigan. Now, Jack, one of the first questions I like to ask all my guests is, how did you end up in Colorado?
Well, it was in a roundabout way, certainly. I had been doing the Indians in my hometown of Cleveland for 17 seasons when they changed stations, and despite all the assurances that I was going to be moved to the new station, it didn't happen, and so I was out of baseball. And in 2002, that year, I did not do baseball. Jack Buck got sick and ultimately passed away in St. Louis, created an opening with the Cardinals, and in the audition process, it got down to Wayne Hagan, who had been doing the Rockies for 10 years, and myself. They decided Wayne had more National League experience, and that's the route they took, but it created the opening here in Denver, and the folks at KOA and the Rockies thought I'd be a good choice, and 8 years later, here I am feeling like a veteran of the Denver scene.
Well, you've definitely been a great choice. You make the games so enjoyable to listen to, and you've been broadcasting Major League Baseball for 25 years, and I believe this is your 8th season now with the Colorado Rockies?
Right. I've done 8 years now, the first 7 with Jeff Kingery, and enjoyed that partnership, and then this past season with Jerry Schemmel, and Jerry and I had a lot of fun together, and look forward to many seasons, hopefully, together as partners.
You know, I'm reading your work history, and in a way, you remind me of LeBron James. You're in Cleveland, and you're broadcasting baseball games for the Cleveland Indians, but here you are in Colorado.
And I've had friends from home ask me about in 2007 when the Rockies went to the World Series. The Red Sox at the time were trailing the Indians 3-1 in the American League Championship Series, and had friends from back home saying, well, who are you going to root for? And I said, I have no problem. I'm rooting for the Rockies. You know, I still follow the Indians and all the Cleveland teams, but not when they're playing a Colorado team. So if the Browns play the Broncos, I'm a Broncos fan. If the Rockies, and we're going to be playing the Indians next summer in Interleague in Cleveland, I won't have any problem. My heart will bleed purple.
Your allegiance is here. Now, prior to coming to the Colorado Rockies, what did you know about the Rockies while you were with the Cleveland Indians?
You know, not a whole lot. I mean, in interleague play, we did a lot of the Central Division and the East, so we had not played the Rockies in those first several years of interleague. Didn't know a lot about them, but one of the things that really helped me in that initial season, there were enough players who I had gotten to know either as Indians players or American League players who had come over to the National League, and so there was a connection. Right here in town, for example, that first year, Steve Reed, longtime reliever for the Rockies, had been a relief pitcher for the Indians. In fact, we lived in the same neighborhood, so Steve and Terry and his 2 boys knew my wife Lisa and our children, so that made an easy transition, and it seemed like everywhere I went, there were a couple of players or players who had become coaches on the various teams, and that certainly eased the transition.
When you're traveling around, and I have to ask this question, I mean, I love talking baseball. I know here we are in November, and to me it's just great talking baseball. But when you're traveling around coast to coast, aside from Denver, which one's your favorite cities to visit?
Yeah, for me, a lot of times it's if I have friends or family in that town, then that makes it obviously easy. The other way was for many times we'd talk about good ballparks and bad ballparks, working conditions. So you tended not to like the places that didn't have the best facilities. Shea Stadium, for example, was awful in New York. I love going to Chicago. My son lives there now where he's working, but Wrigley Field's a tough place to broadcast because it's not a very good booth, as opposed to AT&T or Petco or Camden Yards. I look forward to going to New Yankee Stadium. We're going to do that next summer. The Indians will be our first road interleague foe, and the next one on that same trip will be the Yankees, and so we'll get to see the new ballpark there.
We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, I want to talk more about the ballparks and about the Colorado Rockies 2010 season. When we come back, we'll continue our talk with Jack Corrigan right here on Colorado Sports Connection.